Hi, friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolfpack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week, we will bring you new episodes sharing our opinions on a ton of different topics in hopes we can get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our opinions and experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals. No one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences, our opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome to Being Real With. This is a part of the Be Real Babe podcast where we get back to our roots and we talk to our friends, family, community, and ourselves about the opinions, experiences, whatever the fuck we want, just rolling, spitting, jamming like we used to, what we love. You guys are loving it too. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy and I'm the host of the show. And today, y'all, we're on episode 131, Being Real with B and K, Grooming Edition. It sounds weird saying grooming edition but I don't know what else to call it because y'all, we need to talk about this as we were talking in our other topics this month about, sexual exploitation, grooming, dirty old bastards, trafficking, all that kind of stuff, the sex industry. I think it's super important that we talk about things like grooming and how is this affecting your children and what does that even mean? Because I know when things become political, things get really blurred and the basis of what we're talking about gets lost because we're so busy fighting each other and fighting different pieces of each side, trying to figure out who's right and who's wrong, that we're losing what we're all fighting for at the beginning is to protect kids, right? So I think that this, for me, it's a little sad to see some of these fights where people are so extreme on either side, fighting so hard to be right and so hard to cancel the other side, that so much of the energy is being forced on like researching and pointing points and this person's wrong and this person did this and this person supports that. Like if that energy was taken out of that and put a little bit more into like helping kids protect them, find those boundaries, finding the protections on these apps and these internet sites that could protect them, teach them how to know where a stranger is, all those things, like don't we think we'd be a little bit better instead of fighting over who's what and who's where? And I'm not saying we shouldn't fight for those things. I know that you guys know that I don't think that there should be any sexualization in schools. So to me, even if drag stories aren't as sexualized, I don't think that things should be in schools. I think things like that, especially when they're politically hot topics, should be taken outside and done other things. And I don't believe we should go and protest at those things. I don't believe we should have like rallies of hate. I think we should come together and solve things more. And I know that's a super unpopular opinion on both sides. And sometimes when you say that, then it's like, oh, well, you're not conservative enough, you're not this and that. That's fine. If I'm not enough of something to have this label that you decide and that's your opinion, that doesn't bother me. That's fine that you think that way. And that's fine. I'm still going to vote. At the end of the day, my vote is still going to be something. You know what I'm saying? People just get so wrapped up in labels and who said this and you said that. Like, again, opinions only matter if they matter to you. And if you don't want to change your life with someone, then why do you give a fuck of what their opinion is? If you want to be labeled as one of these things, if you have gender dysphoria and you know in your heart, then go for it and do those things. And if you're not grooming kids, then these words and these things shouldn't be upsetting to you. I do know that there's extremists saying that all people in these communities are doing that. I'm not one of those people. We aren't those people. But what we're saying is that there's a bunch of fucking creepers out there and we've been fighting them ourselves since we've been teenagers. And all we're saying is like, why are we kind of going backwards here? And why are we not coming together and why are we fighting about this stuff? So we thought this is a really good topic to talk about and just get the conversation started, because even myself, I mean, I don't have kids, so it makes sense I didn't really know this, but I didn't realize how bad online grooming and all those places are and how easy it is for these fucking creeps to get a hold of your children. Now, I'm not saying all of them are, and I'm not saying go out there and take that all away from your kids, but like when we were growing up, we had like Nintendo Wii where we like bowled and there was like a high score. But now you guys can play like Fortnite and build lives and build these whole other worlds and spend days and hours and hours and hours with these fucking creeps. And that freaks me out a little bit. Personally, I don't have to worry about my cats going on there, right? So I'm just saying awareness is key, right? And sometimes when you hear parents and you hear some of these experiences, it's like they had never had any idea. That's why they speak out and share that. So why wouldn't we do that? Especially when a lot of our listeners are like parents that have kids at these ages that make them vulnerable, right? And it must be so hard to try and regulate that, and it must be so hard to try and be the bad guy and keep them safe. But I think that's super important. And anyways, I could keep going on and on, but I did on the show, and that's what's important. But before we jump on this episode today with my OGK, I'm so excited. You guys, I just remind you, if you are on YouTube or Rumble, make sure you're turning on those notification bells and subscribing, liking the video so that you can tell those platforms like, hey, we like these babes. We want to see them more. It helps us out quite a bit. If you're on Apple or on Spotify, you can also turn notifications on and leave us reviews if that is something you so would like to do. We appreciate it so, so much. And if you're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, we are also there posting every single day as much as we absolutely can. And if you want your own episode, your own Being Real With, we have a couple left this season. As I mentioned in the show, we are almost done season 5, taking a break and then coming back for season 6 in the fall. It makes me sad saying that because that means that summer is starting. That means that summer's ending. And I hate that summer anxiety. I don't know about you guys, but in Canada, wherever you're listening, we really only get like 3-4 months of really good weather. So it's like once it starts, it's just like a fucking zoom right until winter. And then we're stuck in winter. And the winter in 6 months, it's darker. It seems like it lasts way longer. So anyways, guys, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, turn on those notification bells, and let's get on to the show. All right, babes, let's get to the show. And today I have my OG babe in house with me, Kay. Hey, babe, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for joining me today. You look so cute right now.
Yes.
Just like, I
Thank
was like,
you.
hold
I
on, I'm
like this
observing your vibe right now and I'm digging it.
little thank you. It's kind of just whatever, beachy. I got
Sweatpants.
these cool little Vans on. You can't see
Yes.
them, but they're cute.
Yes, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I'm feeling summery.
Yeah, as
You
my
look
nose.
you look lovely and
I like
sunburned.
sunbird. Yeah. So yesterday we went on the lake for the first time on the board, so that was great. It was like 29,
Nice.
and I didn't get too bad. Like I was
That's
rotating
cool.
enough where it was like not too bad. We weren't out there for too long and in the shade on the beach. And then today we went out to like City Park and sat out there for only
Nice.
2 hours, but the wind was just enough that you couldn't notice. And yeah, I had a hat on yesterday, so I didn't
Yeah.
have any of this. And then today I was like, oh, it's fine. We're just going for a couple hours. And now I look like Rudolph. So that's
It'll
great.
be fun.
It'll be great at work tomorrow. Most people usually come back to work with that after the first like burn of the summer. But
Yeah.
I refuse to wear
Yeah.
sunscreen. So, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Try to respect the sun, but it gets you. But I still feel better knowing that I'm burning with nothing on my body than something
Yeah, no
on my
chemicals.
body. Yeah, like I had a shower
Yeah.
too, made sure there was like no lotion on my body either. I was like, nope, just a little bit of like a light amount of coconut oil just so I didn't feel so dry. And that
Yeah.
was it because I was like, nope, fuck that. I'm not putting sunscreen on. Gives me the heebie jeebies now. I don't even know which ones are recalled. Doesn't matter to me. Fuck that.
Can't do it.
No, can't do
Absolutely
it.
no.
No. I bet you had a beautiful
Hard
weekend
no.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, like Cash and I got up stupidly early on
I
Saturday
love that.
and left, drove for 2 hours, or like an hour and 50 minutes, I think it said,
Nice. Yeah.
and hiked in and saw like a really cool place, and it got really nice, and then it was almost like too much, like the brightness was too much to like really enjoy the
The
scenery,
depth
like
of
the
it. Yeah.
pools of water, because like, yeah, because it was like really like shiny and like the
Reflective.
reflection was like hard to like, yeah. So it kind of got a little overcast when we were leaving, and then when we got back home, it was so like it's been so fucking nice.
Yes.
Like I was brown in the beginning, like of May.
Yeah, it was really nice there. We got nothing. This is just like the first week of real nice stuff. So we're like, yes, it's time.
Perfect for June. It's like
Yes.
June though. Like,
Yes.
that's perfect.
And
It's
the water's
great.
like tolerable. Like it's cold to me, like that little first, like not cold, but like eat. And then, but as soon as you're in it for a few seconds, you're like, oh, this isn't bad. Except for, when the splash comes up and hits your vag, you're like, oh, hello. Fuck, I didn't like that.
I could
Pucker your butthole. You're like, I could go without that, Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Don't pretend that you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
you can't pretend.
No, but it's just nice now that we lived here a few years now. And we kind of explained that to you too. You don't have to abuse the sun anymore. When we first here, it was like all day out at the lake and at the beach, and now it's like that's just way too much. Like 3 hours tops is like more than enough for me between boarding and like and beach time,
shade and beach.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's
don't need to be stupid with
I
it.
appreciate that kind of time. Yeah, like I don't want to be like leathery.
No.
So
No.
like that's kind of
Oh, no.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want to be leathery, and I don't want to have like that freaking sunburn or sunscreen thing
Yeah, yeah, I guess you gotta be.
situation.
Yeah, I just like balance between the two. I don't know.
Ugh.
Speaking of our
Ugh.
topic today, grooming.
Yes, yes.
I don't know.
That
It's
was
not funny.
perfect
I don't know
segue.
why, but it was a perfect segue. So I'm gonna lead with that. But obviously, you guys were talking about all sorts of stuff about sex, sexual exploitation, Holly weird, trafficking, all dirty bastards, and how that kind of all ties in, and it kind of ties in with the cult stuff that we kind of talked about. Because really, that's essentially what cult leaders are doing in their own ways, right? Is like grooming, I think.
Yes,
So
yes.
and I think it is getting thrown around quite a bit. And I think all of us on the show are all in the same space where we don't really heavily agree with like, obviously, we don't agree that everyone in the LGBTQ plus community are groomers. We're not. I don't believe that. I don't believe just because
No.
you're gay or you're trans that that means you're automatically a groomer or a drag queen for that matter. Do I believe that some are using that to do some nasty things? Yes. And I think that's what we need
Fucking
to
right.
talk about. And if you're getting triggered about that, I think you got to figure out like why is someone saying that, even if it's true or not, someone saying that those people are grooming, why does that trigger you if you don't believe that that's true and someone else
Yeah.
believes that, right?
Yeah, like why what yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Like why people would get so upset. And I think like a lot of it has to do with most people's brains just like can't logically go there
Yes.
because your brain is really immaculate in the way that it like blocks things out that you don't want to know or
Mhm.
like remember or acknowledge. Like it's like a safety mechanism. It just shuts things out. So
Yes, that's totally fair. And with no awareness to that, how would you? Some people like I wouldn't know. I didn't know for a long time too. And I think that's like if you think about multiple personalities and how your brain splits to
mhm.
protect, right? Like I'm sure the brain does things in different ways where it buries stuff or, you know, don't want to know that that's a thing. But like I think the word gets thrown around quite a bit, and I think it's a good opportunity to talk about what actually it is. So Kay did some looking up
Ooh.
here to tell us like what is grooming, like, and furthermore, like if you didn't know about it, maybe you should know about it if you have kids, especially like we were trying to
Oh
say
my
before we
god, you
got
should
cut
know about
off,
it.
right? Because like we said before, we were
Oh,
talking and we got cut off and round two here. We're saying, like we talked about this a lot because Cash is at that age where he plays video games and all those creepy, what was it, Roblox, or
yep,
is that what it's called? Is that the one that was
yep.
creepy? And then there was,
Roblox and Fortnite.
yeah, and what was that like creepy fucking teddy bear one where it was like Snuggy Wuggy or some shit like that?
Oh yeah,
Remember
yes,
that?
yes,
And I just don't think
yes.
some kid parents have any idea that this shit is out there. So I think when we hear groomers, we're thinking sex traffickers, we're thinking Epstein's, we're thinking Ghislaine
Yep,
Maxwell's, but we're not understanding that these fuckers are getting on these young platforms and they're not acting like creeps, they're acting like little kids. And they're
yeah.
getting friends and they're luring
Which is
their kids
creepy.
out, and then kids
Yeah,
are going
yeah,
missing, right? So Kayla, you take
yeah.
it away, love. You tell us what is grooming from what you found.
It's basically like when someone builds like a relationship with a child where they gain the child's trust, they make them feel like they're like emotionally supported, and it's typically adults to children.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be the other way around because that would be interesting. But
Manipulative little
children,
shit. No, just kidding. Like
yes,
they wouldn't be going
yes,
for
children,
sexual stuff. They'd be going for like money and gifts and
candy,
candy and like
toys,
toys, PlayStations.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not the other way. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
less dangerous
Yeah,
things.
yeah, manipulation in a different
Oh my
way.
god. Yeah, so that's we basically like they can be it. A lot of times it ends up with like ending out in sexual abuse.
Mm.
They exploited or trafficked, which is what we were talking about. That's a pretty heavy one considering all the stuff that's always ongoing in the world, like the Epstein things and
Mhm.
like trafficking and all that grossness.
Mhm.
Um, that it ties into a lot to like Ghislaine Maxwell, which like really just gives me the heebie fucking jeebies.
It
But
does.
like Brandy was saying, it's out there and there's everyday people doing it too, and it's a lot more common than you think.
Mhm.
And so I swear to God, every time my son fires up his PlayStation, I will go in there and I'll just like look at him and I'm like, hey, who do we not talk to?
Mhm.
What do we do if someone says something about your private parts?
Mhm.
Um, Never tell anyone where you live. Like, don't give definitive details about where you go to school or where your house is.
Yes.
And I hate that it's just like fucking second nature to me because
Yes, I know.
I'm like I will never, I will never ever let something shitty happen to him.
No.
Like I physically am knowing what my parents went through with me and Chris, and like even your mom would have maybe gone through worrying about you when the internet started coming around.
Oh
Like you
yeah.
had like MSN and Facebook and
Oh yeah.
Twitter and things
Yep.
like that. Like
MSN was bad.
it was a
Chat
lot.
rooms. It was like
Yes, chat
it was
rooms.
chat rooms, and it was
You could
very
talk to
easy,
anybody.
and you could get in. I was 13 years old and I can
Hmm.
get in any chat room I wanted to, and I was like this. I had no idea it was really dangerous, and I didn't think about like we didn't talk about doxing like we did then. You didn't talk, your parents didn't know that you could give out your information and where you lived, or like, oh, I go to this school, and it's exciting to find someone. And when you're a young girl, it's like this is why I worry, because a lot when you're a young girl and they're a little bit older, we'll say that like I don't know, like 10 to 14, 15, 16 era, like an older boy's talking to you, and we're so programmed to be like stoked about that, and that makes us like
Yes.
something of an item to be. That's
Yeah.
how it's easy to groom, because society makes you think that you're then desired, and that's something to be like proud of, as opposed to like feared, because we didn't know
Yeah.
about those kind of things really back then, right? So now I think where your
No.
guys's your children's generation, I think it's great that you're doing these things, because our parents did not tell us these things. They did not know what we were talking about. MSN,
Yeah.
like, oh, at home, oh, sitting out back, like
Hmm.
some fucking creep comes up and says sitting out back and looks at your address and then finds fucking kills you. Like, it can happen, but we didn't know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Scary.
Or it was like it was a little bit. It wasn't tamer. I don't want to say because the creepy thing about when we were growing up is right around like when all the like the Epstein shit and stuff would have been like taking
Gearing up.
off.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they would have been in their mid late 20s, early 30s,
Yeah.
and in their prime apparently of grooming.
I know.
Uh,
We're getting kicked off YouTube for sure with this one.
yeah. Oh,
We'll
100%.
call it
Maybe we
zooming
don't even
we're
upload it to YouTube. Yeah, zooming. We'll just
zooming.
upload it to our
Yeah.
other. um,
It's not
but
funny,
yeah,
but it's like
so
we should be able to
it's
talk about
not.
this
We're
stuff, and it shouldn't be censored, because people need to talk about it. It's like, why would you censor people talking about how to protect children and young adults, and even adults? Like, even myself, I feel like I've been in situations as an adult that I could easily be groomed. And I'm sorry, MLMs, I'm going to say that some leads do, like, not to this like sexual level, but they do exploit and abuse people on their vulnerabilities, and I feel like, and build trust and build emotional connection, and then get mad at you and shit on you when you don't perform. Like,
uh,
to me, those are like, I think there's friends that do that, that manipulate you. I think there's family. Like, I'm not just saying it's MLMs, I'm just saying, like, my boss wouldn't do that to me because he doesn't, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's just weird. I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot to be said about grooming, not just in this like the nastiest form. I still feel there's like light amount of it that is like gaslighting too, in a sense. And
Oh, 100%.
right.
Like it's completely like I think gaslighting falls in really like neatly with manipulation. Like
Mm-hmm.
they want to take advantage of the person that they're grooming. They want to be able to gain access to whatever they want. And when you think about that, like it's a really creepy thing that an adult person, a fully grown human being, could want to do something like that to a child. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting in my therapist's office and asking him questions about people with like mental disorders, if you will, and also why people like hurt children.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it just like those are things that make me deeply angry,
Yes,
and
agreed.
I'm just like sometimes I would just go in there and I would just go off, and like many times I would ask him like why. I remember him looking at me the first time too when I asked him the very first time, why are people fucking like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like how I physically makes me want to vomit at the thought that someone can find a child sexually attractive
Ugh, I
in a manner that they could manipulate them to get them to do whatever they want, or like it's like, and I think so it's just really disgusting. It's like
yes.
and to kind of like zoom back to like what we were talking about in the very beginning as to why people get triggered. mate and the brain, maybe people get triggered because they were potentially groomed when they
Yes,
were
I
younger and
think
they
so.
didn't know, and the mind is blocking it out, and then it just makes them angry and they don't understand why.
Yes, or they're
Because
hearing their
that,
groomer like fight that in their head. So as soon as they hear something
yes,
like that person has manipulated them and brainwashed them
drilled it
into
into
drilled
them.
it into their
Yes,
head to hear anything against and opposing them is nope bad. It's just like conspiracy theorists. Oh, I cannot believe that because it's a conspiracy theory. But you
yes.
know how that works. Anyways, not this episode, but you know what I'm
Get on your
saying. You
tinfoil
guys get
hat.
what I'm saying, right? Immediately hear that. And if your cognitive dissonance is fighting so hard because you've had it ingrained into your story that, you know, X, Y, and Z, and someone's
I'm
saying
not trying to
against,
hurt you.
yeah,
I'm not a bad
exactly.
person.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I don't know, it's just, it's like just what happens with certain victims of these mental abuse situations, right? Like it's really hard. It's already hard when you're in a bad place, and then you have someone that, like, for most of this, they act like the hero. Like you know, you hear so many girls that have been trafficked, and they find this guy that was
Ugh.
gonna save me, and da 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 da, and they paid for this and paid for that, and then all of a sudden, oh, you owe me $2,000. Now you're going to be in the sex trade and you're going to have to work this off.
Oh,
And, you know, and it just keeps coming. And you hear some of these girls that are
yeah,
trapped in
that's
the
creepy.
industry, isn't it? Right. But for the longest time, they'd say, well, I didn't know that at first because he was so sweet. He was so kind. He was taking care of me. And it's like, well, yeah, because they're professional fucking groomers to get what you want. And I'm not
Yeah.
like saying that in a rude way because, like, I've been in vulnerable situations too. I've been with people that you know, really cared about to a level where I was like, this is kind of dangerous. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I'm willing to do things that aren't really in my character for another individual. I can understand how years of exploitation, abuse, you know, hearing it all the time helps you develop that as a story. And then, you know,
Yeah.
you're not a victim or you're not being abused. That's just how life is and you deserve it. And you don't deserve anything
Right.
else, right? Like that's what I feel like
Yeah.
happens. And then you get in that
Hmm.
cycle, and we know what it's like to get out of those brain cycles. It's almost impossible when your environment is also so fucking nasty that
Yeah.
you can't bloom at all, right? So it's like
Nothing.
yeah, I think that people need to know, like, there's way that they can do this to your kids online through Snapchat, through fucking Instagram, through anything, because those apps, what do? Scroll the wheel. Like
TikTok.
everyone fucking knows
Yeah.
what year is legal. Like I remember being in chat rooms, like we said, teenager, and it was like, oh, you have to be 16. Okay, I just scrolled the wheel 3 years. Boom, you're in. Wow, congratulations. Like
Isn't that
I'm
insane?
not saying we need more regulation like government,
Joe.
but it's also like, okay, y'all, what did you expect when you have zero regulation online for those kind of things? What were we going to expect was going to happen? Pedophiles just got an open fucking door.
I know. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about like the things that the government is trying to censor and like stop people from seeing and hearing and viewing.
Yep.
But like they don't do shit about that.
No, and do you know,
You know
like,
what I mean?
do you
Like it
how many
seems like
fucking
there's not much getting done.
no, and how many naked chicks on Instagram do you get? I know yours is private, so you're probably not getting as much, maybe, I think. But I every day I have these like burner accounts that are like naked women pictures that are always just liking and hearting my Instagram, like trying to, you know,
Nice.
because I know they don't know and it's just whoever, but it's just
Yeah.
you can't stop any of those
Bots. Yeah.
things. But I can't share something about the COVID vaccine, like, or the mandates, or like a war or
Right?
something, but that's allowed. Like I don't, this is what I don't understand. When, you know, like, I don't think there should always be regulation, but I think when it comes to sexualized things, like, it's a hard, like, yeah, they're
Keep kids out of it.
keep kids out
Fuck,
of it.
fuck
Like,
around and find out.
yeah, like there needs to be more, I think, protection on online games and stuff like that. um
Mm.
you know, like maybe parents need to be vetted to be able to open the accounts for their kids, and it has to be like your parents have to check in every so often, or I don't fucking know what the
Hmm.
solution is, but leaving it just open ended for perverts ain't it for me personally. And I don't even have kids.
Yeah,
Like my
that's
cats don't game, so like
the
no.
cats just don't.
Benji wouldn't bite
Oh,
anyways.
jeez.
Sophie's too rude, and Jackson's got no time. He's too busy being gorgeous.
Yes,
So,
he is.
but there's a lot of people
Oh,
like that, parents like that one girl that we follow. I don't think you follow her, Babes of Steel. I think I can't remember her name, but
I
she's
don't think I do.
blonde. She's hilarious. But she actually was is very against now posting her kids online in photos because someone, because she's quite like Instagram famous now, and someone took her kids'
Hmm.
photos and recreated an account under like saying that it was her kids and like exploiting them and stuff like that. So now she's like very, very against having any pictures of her kids on social media where you can like see their faces because that happened to
Shit.
her. Right. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that by any means. I understand, but it's like, again, nobody really knows what's going to happen out there, right? Like what they could
Yeah.
do. And so that's why I don't know, it worries me a little bit because as a past photographer, I posted all the kids' photos online too. I had my hand in that as well. And I'm like, parts of me go, did I give some fucking creeps some like ammunition here?
Yeah.
Like I don't think people understand. Like you can go to Instagram and you can find Instagram pages and pages of young girls. Like I'm talking like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old of just pictures and all these comments with hearts and heart eyes of old men. Does no one else
Ugh.
find that fucking weird? Like what is going on? Why are the parents doing this? Like I'm not saying it's like some of these predators are being served these children on platters here.
Yeah, that's why I also have like a private Instagram. I have people just I if I want you to see it, then I'll allow you to follow me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way I guess that I can kind of keep it mitigated.
100%.
Fuck, like it's so creepy when you think about it.
I don't want to be that
It's
person
just
either because yeah,
gross.
maybe that is extreme, but like I don't know. Like I didn't think any of us thought that filters were going to do as much damage to all of us as it kind of did. Things like that, you know
They're
what I'm
fucked
saying?
up.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how many times do you guys all struggle? I know I do and I use them very like I don't use them as much and I still struggle when I like
Hmm.
see myself. I'm like, "Oh, especially when I'm doing my morning rants, I'm like, "Oh, you troll." Like, oh, a filter would it
No.
would just be so much better and I'm like, "Oh, that is why is that now in my head?" You know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what are these damages going to do for these kids that are exposed to all this? And I don't know. Anyways, what do we know else more? Do we know about
Ugh.
groomers? Do we have anything more?
I don't really know. Like, I don't. I think we kind of like touched. We can kind of slightly touch in signs of grooming. Like,
Yeah.
um, your children might seem secretive about what they're doing, how they're spending their time online. They might seem to hang around with people who are like older, like male or female, because it's not um, gender specific.
No. And we are actually
Uh,
talking about the in the next episode, a little backwards, but about how we
yeah.
find that women are a lot of the times accomplices to a lot of these
It's
crimes that you
creepy.
see, right? Like you see like
Yeah.
the couples doing it and it's like I'm not saying that the men are just but it's like, oh man, it's so toxic. It's not just one, it's both of you.
It Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Like the idea, yeah, that it's yeah, it's gross.
Well, because they think
There's
they're
no other word
safe,
for
right?
it.
Like they think they're safe. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a woman there. There's like, there's less chance of it being bad. And then it turns out like, no, she's just a psycho for whatever reason. So it's like, that's sad. Like, what was it?
Yeah.
Carla, what are the ones that was like in Ontario? They like kidnapped her sister or something and they kept her in the basement and some shit. Like, it's just insane. I know. I think it was in Ontario or
That's
something like that.
disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. But like it sometimes it's family. Sometimes like people are in really bad
Yeah, it can
situations,
be.
right? Like and we're going to talk about this in the coming weeks like trafficking, but this is how I think some of this all starts is right here at the grooming and like we were saying too, like it's they try to be your best friends and they try to get in there like especially if they
Yeah.
see single moms and they come in and they try to help the mom and then they try to help the kid or they try to
Yeah.
become best friends and like and it's just like, oh, this really nice guy, like he's so innocent. But this meantime, he's
Yeah.
fucking grooming your children, and it's like,
What
is
the
this
fuck?
not good? But like, obviously, this isn't good. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, um, I think open dialogue and always making sure that
Yeah, talk to your kids.
kids are being talked to because it's
Know
important.
who they're talking to, know what they're doing, what games they're playing. Like it's going to sound invasive, but honest to god, until they're old enough to like comprehend, and I'm even going to say even when they're teenagers, like
Mm-hmm.
if you can just have open dialogue with your children, then that way I feel like that's how you'd be able to like catch it
Yes.
or stop it. Being honest with them. Like Cash is really young, but I'm very honest with him. not in like grotesque detail. I just tell him like there are dangerous people out
Mhm.
there that don't have your best interest at heart, and I don't ever want to be put in a position where I have to do something about it
Yeah. I don't
because
want to go to prison.
I will go to
Yeah,
jail.
100%.
I will go to jail.
Yes. And
Or I'll just do it without getting caught,
yeah,
you
either
know?
one. I
I'll
mean,
just play the game back.
yeah, we'll just do a podcast right away and just like, I was on this show. I have time stamped here.
What do
Uh,
you even
what do you even
mean?
mean? I was here at this time. See? But I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's not something that like our parents, yes, they did have to start worrying about, but I don't think it's as common as it is now. I don't think there wasn't that many games. Like there wasn't interactive games for kids. It was chat rooms,
No, not online
right?
like it is
And
now.
you had
Yeah.
games, but they weren't like talking to people. You were just doing your own, like you put the disc in and then it just like loaded and then you played your game and you were done. And like maybe there was like a scoreboard, like a high scoreboard, but there wasn't online interactive things like there are now. Like and how many kids play Fortnite? And what's that fucking stupid
Yeah.
name guy? What is the fucking demon concert guy? Travis Scott. Isn't he like one of the
Oh,
like main
I think
douchebags off of
so.
Fortnite or
Yeah,
some shit?
like there's like a skin of yeah, he's
Yeah.
got a skin
And like
on
I
there
know
now or
30
some
and
shit.
40-year-olds that are playing Fortnite, if you're listening, or your sons are the ones that are playing it, you know who I'm talking about. But, they're playing that and I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I'm saying is like
No.
who knows if a kid's pretending to be older to hang out with those guys, and if you're not paying attention, I don't know. I understand that that feels invasive or stuff, but what's kind of more important, the safety of your kids, especially if your kids are withdrawn and
Oh,
showing these
100%.
signs, right? Like,
Yeah.
if they don't
Yeah.
feel like they're getting attention at home, and all of a sudden this person's giving them attention, they're like, hey, let's go meet at the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. This
Setting the money.
setting the money, yeah, like because they'll take
Yeah.
your money, they'll take, and they build friendships. This isn't happening like right now. It's developing over
It's
time.
gradual over time. Yeah, that's what probably creeps me out the most is that
Yes.
it's just like a long game plan where
Yep.
they fully want to like engulf them in the situation to the point where they just like don't even know what's real anymore or if it's bad or if it's good kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the effects are like also gross. But it's kind of interesting. Like a lot of it can stem from it's like the idea of trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they get anxious, withdrawn, uncommunicative. They can get angry quickly. Anxiety, their depression.
Mm-hmm.
It
Spirals.
can just however it just everyone will probably be affected by things
Yeah,
differently
it'll
and depending
manifest
on
different.
yeah like long term effects could be anything
Mm-hmm.
like it yeah it's just it's bleh,
What I don't
bleh.
understand is like how they're trying to normalize things like that a little bit more by recreating words like maps and saying it's more of like
Mm,
a
that's just
gender
not okay.
orientation. And I'm just not like, you want to have sex with different genders or call yourself a different gender and have sex with the same or the other. I
Fuck
don't,
it, whatevs.
whatever. But this one I am just never going to get on board with. And I understand that it's ridiculous to go from like trans and like non-binaries and their gender ideology all the way over to here. But I think because it's so being pushed at such a radical amount, and not just like just include us, it has to be like, it feels like all and everything. It's just like, when, okay, well, what if people that have maps or in this community get that loud and that push and that forceful, like, I don't know. It's insane to me now that you can't really say anything without being some sort of phobic. um
Yeah.
when there are people in all communities that do this. I'm not just saying it's not, but I also find it weird. We've talked about this a few times. I don't want to beat a dead horse with a stick, but I do find it weird that some grown men want to be dressed up in their get-ups in front of kids. Like,
Oh yeah,
why
absolutely.
can't we
Like
go to old folks homes, or why can't we, or like, why does it have to be in school? I said this in the next episode. Like, I don't want to go off about it, but like, I feel like there are some kids in that way that are being groomed on either side. Like, I don't think kids should be going
yeah.
to strippers either. Like, I don't love it when kids
Oh,
are in
no.
Vegas and they see all of that kind of like half naked stuff either. I don't,
It is an adult entertainment city. It is
yes,
the state. There's a reason they call it the city of sin.
yes,
Uh, I mean, there's like other things that you can do. Like if you stayed away
totally.
from the strip, you might be okay.
Absolutely.
But there's even still things that your children are going to witness on around Vegas that there's places where they just have giant billboards of naked, like
Yep.
half naked women,
Yes.
and
I just why
I
can't we go to
yeah.
California? I don't know. Like I get it. It's just I don't know. And the reason why I have that argument is because I hate when people are like, "Oh, everyone's at this is drag queen." And it's like, "No, I wouldn't be comfortable if a stripper or an
Yeah.
OnlyFans model went in there in a little getup with a bunch of makeup and a wig and did a bunch of gyrating in front of kids. I wouldn't be comfortable with it
Yeah.
either." And so yes, I understand drag story, and for sure if they're vetted and they're good people, I don't see why they can't do it, but there has to be this understanding that there is a great amount of people that are trying to make kids talk about their sexuality in a weird way, like that Jeffrey Marsh or whatever. Is that his name?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that one. That it's just
Like
I want to hear
telling
more about that.
you what? Do you know which one I'm talking about? The one that says like,
No.
okay, so there's this guy on TikTok. I believe he's non-binary. I believe that's how he identifies. I'm sure I'll get dragged if this goes anywhere, but a lot of his TikToks are saying like, "Hey, this is just for the kids. I want the parents to go away," and just like non-binary, so very many manly features, but obviously dressing up and cross-dressing with lots of makeup, so it's kind of like and a lot of it is like your parents are wrong about you, da 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 da, like go away, listen to me, like telling them how they can emancipate from their parents. Like to me
What the fuck?
this to me is a predator, and I'm
Bro,
not.
you better check yourself.
That's kind of where I'm at, where it's just like, and then you hear that some teachers are starting to do that too, where they're allowed to not tell their parents certain stuff. And this is where I start to have issues with, because it's like, you guys go off and say you want freedom and you want to be able to choose what to do for your child, but no one else is like that's fine, but people are allowed to choose to not want that either. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, yes.
I just find that very strange. And it's kind of like a little bit sketchy to me when some of these like leaders in this community are saying things that are guided towards children. I just don't quite understand that. To me,
Yeah,
when
it's
I hear
creepy.
that, I hear like that's why I wanted us to go over this. Like these are the definitions of what it is to groom children online. Like love bombing them and building that relationship and that trust, and saying I understand you, your parents don't. Like separating
Ugh.
like parents from their children is a very big step in grooming. So it's like when you hear shit like that, how am I not supposed to think that? Like, I'm
Yeah, what
sorry,
am
how
I
do you
supposed to?
not
Yeah.
think that? Not to be fucking rude, but to be rude.
And also to just like make a clear point, you have no fucking right talking to other people's kids
Mhm.
about about them. Like
Yes.
you have no place in this world addressing other people's children in that manner.
Yes.
You If your mission is to go online and dress up and fucking try and tell children that they don't have to listen to their parents because you have some fucked up like issues going on in your dome, I don't want to be that way. But that when I
Mhm.
hear that, that pisses me off because I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like if I walked out somewhere and someone was like in a crowd of children, like telling them, like trying to coach them to not listen to their parents, I would go over there and I'd say, what the fuck is going on here?
No shit.
Like,
Yes.
what the fuck are you doing? Like, who do you think you are? You want to have those opinions and you want to address them to adults. If you
Mhm.
want to reach people who are adults who've had time to like mature and
Or talk to them
develop,
about their children. Like if someone come, like
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if you have a problem with how they're being raised because you feel like they're being oppressed and they can't express themselves, then you talk to
not
them like a
your
fucking
fucking
adult.
child.
Yeah, but like if you
Yeah,
have a problem, talk to them like an adult. Go talk to them and have a conversation with them, because you're also then believing a child. I'm not trying to say that, but like how many times has Cash X like been dramatic or like blown it up,
yeah,
or you know what I'm saying? Kids do things for shock and awe. They push their boundaries. So I'm not
of
saying that
course
there's
they do.
not kids that don't get abused, and I'm not saying that there's not parents that aren't homophobic or transphobic or all those things, and I'm really sorry for all of them, but just to assume that all parents are and not even give any of the parents a chance to be a part of the fucking conversation, you just butt them
Yeah,
out. And like I just find that to be the creepiest thing ever. If you don't like how a child is being parented because you're a mentor or a teacher or whatever, talk to the fucking parents. Don't just go straight to the kids and make that connection and separate them. I don't, to me, there's no reason for that if you actually care, because a child is best with their parents. So if you truly cared, then you would advocate and fight for the bonding and the growth together as a family unit. not, oh, they don't
Yeah.
completely agree right now, oh, separate and emancipate and do your own thing and come to this community and we'll care and love for you. But are they? Because, you know, I just don't know who's going to take care of you when you emancipate from your parents. What part of this community is going to take care of you? You know,
Yeah.
kids are too little to understand that. They're just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is going to be better, and then what? Where are they going to go? Like,
Right? Like, what's the end game in
think
that?
about you when you first turned 18, 19, and first moved out. Did you realize how much fucking bills were and groceries and all that and gas? And you're like, oh man, like,
No,
no. And so it's scary. And then these kids get
it
groomed by
is.
someone that was, I'm going to take care of you. And then they run to them and then they make them do whatever. And then we gets into trafficking, which we're going to talk about next week. And it's so sad. And it starts here, and it starts with like being talking to your kids, knowing what games they're playing, what are the age limits, like what are the restrictions, what are the boundaries, are there
Hmm.
like on fuck, YouTube is the worst. Like we talked about this, I'm sure, before on the
YouTube is so
show,
sketchy.
because how much stuff has cash just like randomly fallen into, right? Like it's
I
scary.
have we have gone back and forth from having, I don't even know right now. I don't think he has YouTube or access to YouTube on anything
Good.
because it's just
Unpredictable.
it's unregulated. It's
Yes.
completely unregulated. I would call YouTube like it's rogue. And even Google, like
Mm-hmm.
Google's rogue too. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that he can go to the iPad or whatever and say, "Hey Siri, what is this?" And you know what I mean? So
Yep.
I have the fucking internet turned off on that thing. Like
Good.
I'm like,
Nope.
no.
No.
I unless I know what, and I know it makes it, I don't feel crazy when I say that
No.
because my mom was the same way and
Mm-hmm.
I'm fucking grateful that she was crazy.
Yes.
I'm grateful that she was like that
Yeah.
because I'm alive and I'm sitting here recording this with you today because my
She
mom gave a
protected
shit.
you. Yes. Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
like, and I'm not saying that parents don't give a shit. Like,
No.
don't jump on my throat. Like, I'm not saying parents don't give a shit. It is so easy to not be aware of that. Just
100%.
by not, keeping a tight watch on the regulation of what they're doing
Mm-hmm.
on the internet. Like,
Yes. And we're
and
not
it's
here to
younger and
be,
younger
and
nowadays
I can,
too.
I know I can tout this because I have no kids, but my mom used to always say this, like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your mother. So it's like, that's not
Yes,
safe for you. I'm not letting you have it. I don't care if
we're not going
blah, blah,
there.
blah, 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 blah's mom lets them do that and blah, 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 blah. I'm not fucking letting you do that. That's not safe. I don't give a shit. We're not, we're not here to be friends. We'll be friends when you're an adult. You'll understand. Right now, I'm being your
Yeah,
parent, and I'm so grateful because I'm the same thing. I don't think I'd be here if she didn't give a
yeah,
shit. I didn't really have the internet because I was a little bit older, right? So just when it came in, it was like
yeah,
just when I was graduating. So it came into,
yeah.
I
So
think,
you
a
were
little bit.
old and yeah,
Yeah, I was past that. MySpace was like literally, I think my graduating year, first year of college is when like MySpace came out. So like, and Facebook, and I was like, what's Facebook? This is stupid. And then of course MySpace died, and I
this
was
is
like, ugh, book of faces, this is dumb. And then MySpace died, and I was like, this is stupid. And then Instagram, I thought was just like a photo filter. I didn't even know that was posting to social media. I was like, oh, well, good thing I didn't put any like naughty photos in there. It was just like,
that.
like early 2011 pictures of food and
Yeah, yeah,
animals. But like I felt very lucky that I think that we were able to experience those things and kind of learn things the hard way without being too exposed. But now it's just everything is everywhere. Kids have all different devices, and I don't think I think it's personally responsible that you need to take now in this type of world to know what your kids are doing. And I
yeah.
know it's hard, and I know that must be a lot of work, but I think if you were to listen to a lot of people who have had their kids like groomed or abducted or whatever, a lot of them would say that they probably had no idea that, like blah 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 would ever do this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and you
and
can't,
you don't,
and you
like,
don't, and
you
I'm not
don't
saying that
know.
if you're listening to this and that happened to you that you could have prevented anything that happened. I'm not saying that, but I think knowledge is power. And I think if you can recognize some behaviors and you're in your kids' faces, like my mom was always in my face. She always knew what the fuck was
Hmm.
going on. Like
Yeah,
always to the point where she was in my face so much that if I was lying and I like look sideways for a second, she'd be like, I'm like, God damn, woman, how did you know? Like, fuck. Like, I don't know. I just think
yeah.
that that's a great parent. Like, you're not there to be friends. You're there to set boundaries and watch over them. And, we'll talk in the next,
Keep them safe.
yeah, because like we'll talk in the next episode. Like, kids are super influential, and all the Hollywood and celebrities, they're all fucking pedophiles. They all, think about how much hookup culture has been glorified when we were just teenagers. and how much of an
Yeah.
effect that probably had on us, you know, because it
Oh,
was like
totally.
the
Like,
cooler you were, and it's like, oh man, now like I feel like I was groomed by Hollywood in a way.
yeah, it kind of, right? Like, just the like magazines and the suggest like stuff that was suggested in magazines. Like when you were young, well, like, do you remember when Cosmo came
Oh
out?
my
Like,
God, yes, I bought everyone when I was 16, and I read all
right?
of
Like
the and I did all the
the
quizzes and
juicy,
all
yeah.
the,
It's
yeah,
just
how to kiss and how to do this and all these things, and you're just like 16 years old, and it's like, I'm sorry, and I've said this before, I kind of understand where religious people wait, and that's a very intimate and more of a love thing, and it's not just because it's
yeah,
as you age, I think you start to see the damage that gets done when you were a part and did live vicariously through hookup culture and being like, oh, this is so empowering. And I think that's probably why we talk about now coming on the other side being like, okay, maybe it really wasn't, like,
hmm,
was that really all it was cracked up to be? Because I seem to have some damage from that. I seem to have some trauma that I'm still working through from that. Like, was that
some
really
shit that
great?
I
Like, and then you think of how they want to break up the family unit. You're like, oh, hookup culture is a part of that. Like,
gross.
gross. Another more gross. This whole topic has just been all the gross. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
not it's not just the Ghislaine Maxwells of the world that are grooming kids. It's not just in Hollywood.
it's
It's
everywhere.
everywhere. How many
Everyday
trafficking
people.
rings are getting broken all over the place, and it starts here. Yes, some of them they just grab and go. Of course. But like, how easy all the time is it to grab a screaming kid? It's, a lot easier to take someone that sounds like I have any idea what it, but I would imagine, you know what I mean, like it's a lot easier to
Yeah,
kidnap someone when they're with someone that they know, because they're not likely
yeah,
going to understand that they're kidnapped or taken away from their family, and who knows, maybe they tell them they lie and say their family went away from them and then they stop looking. Like, the amount of kids and children that go missing a year, it's insane. It's so
yeah. It
sad.
is. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. And so I just think, like,
Oh,
it might not be fun, it might be uncomfortable, but have those conversations. And I think that's why it's been so good with you and Cash, is because you've had those conversations, you've seen it, and you've been like, okay, no matter how hard I've tried to put all these parental things on, there's still parts of the algorithm that get through, and you don't
yeah,
know if they're on Fortnite playing with some 45-year-old that identifies as a 6-year-old boy, and he's having fun talking to another 7-year-old boy.
yeah. We have like really tight settings on that. Like Cash can't talk to anyone that he's not friends with, and if he friend requests somebody, we have to like talk to
Vet
them
them.
and approve it.
Good for you
Yeah,
guys.
Ryan or I will go in there.
Good.
Yeah, I was like, who are you talking to? Because I listen. Like if he says something and it's like
That's off.
borderline, like it's sexual or
Yeah.
something, even just funny, like being funny, like talking about genitals, because the kids are funny. Like
Yes, of
he'll say
course.
asshole or something, like
Yes.
because he thinks he's a badass when he's online,
Yes.
and I'll open the door and I'll look at him in his face and I'll say, check yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're 7.
Yes.
Check yourself.
And I know that
And
guys
then
think it's
I'll ask him,
funny and
like,
it's
who are
all
you talking
funny.
to?
Yeah, and I get it's kind of funny, like it's your friends' kids, I know, and you forget them there, but like, why can't kids just be innocent? Like if you're gonna bitch that like drag queens are too sexual or the gay community is too sexual, but then you're gonna go on games and you're gonna say those kind of stuff in front of your friends' kids that are not appropriate. I'm sorry, you
Yeah,
need to check yourself too, because I think that's just as inappropriate. And if you're only liking it because the gay community is doing it, then I'm not gonna call you phobic, but I'm gonna say, like, that's, you got to do some self reflection there, I think. And I had to do that for myself
yeah,
too. I'm like, okay, are you just mad at this? And I'd be like, oh, well, no. Like, if there was guys talking about that kind of stuff, and it was like, like, we have friends that have little kids that still play games, they're old enough
yeah,
now, and I would not be comfortable with that. Be like, watch your mouth. I
yeah,
don't care if your parents swear, or their parents, like,
yeah,
they swear around their kids. I'm always I'm going to try and keep my mouth as clean as possible, because I just
yeah.
think that that's respectful for the kids. Like, let kids be kids as long as they can. They have plenty of time to say that dirty shit and be like swearing and all that.
Yeah,
Like,
ridiculous.
and of
Yeah,
course they're going to be that way with themselves. I think you should be, but I think if you're the adult of the group, you
yeah,
should try to be the adult, not be their best friend and be the cool. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
yeah.
I think back to now those parents that let us like party at their house and drink with them and party with them, and they're 20 years older than us.
Kind of creeps me out a
Now,
bit.
then I was like, this is so cool. Like, we're so cool. These parents are so cool. And now I'm like, ugh.
Just,
Me
just like
thinking
a lack
about,
of boundary.
yeah, I just don't think I could sit there and I'm 37. I don't think I know I couldn't sit there and party with a bunch of 15-year-olds. Like, I understand having a couple over and letting them have a few drinks, and it's a few friends that do that once in a
Yeah.
while, and you want them to drink around you. I understand that. But I'm talking people that had like ragers and the parents were doing like blow and e and all that kind of stuff. It's like,
Yeah. Just
was
fucking
that really the right move? I don't know. Like, I'm not really trying to judge, do whatever you want, but like, I just can never see myself doing that personally.
no.
Like, but I'm just a prude and an
No.
old lady.
No.
And I have cats, so probably easier said than done. When Benji meows at me for food, I give in. That's why he's so heavy. So, like, let's be honest. When the chips
Let's be
actually
real.
fall, let's be real. But anyways, off topic a little bit, guys. But like me and Caleb said, this like kind of just be aware, and not everyone. Don't be a psycho. Not everyone's going to be that way. We're not saying everybody's going to be that way. But I think if you're,
Just be aware.
yeah, I think if you are naive to think that like, oh, that just happens on the news, that just happens in the States or Europe or no, 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 no. Unfortunately, that happens anywhere because online is international, guys. Like, doesn't matter. They could have people from all over the world. Like, I don't know. These people are creepy, and they put a lot of effort into being
Yes.
creepy.
They do. Too much.
A little
Too
bit,
much
a
effort.
little fucking bit too much. But yeah, I think that's kind of wraps it up on grooming, guys.
I do.
I
Yeah.
think I think it's something everyone should kind of look into themselves. Again, like we always say, look into these kind of things and what kind of games. And maybe if your kids are playing games, maybe it's a quick Google search of what was that one, Roblox? Was I saying it right?
Roblox.
Yeah,
Yes.
like pros and cons of Roblox, like parental settings, like maybe Google some things to see what some people's experiences are, just so that you're aware, you know and have talks with your kids. Who are you talking to on there, you know
Yeah.
and if they're
100%.
like really pushing back, like maybe that's a little cause for concern, I would think, because like, what are you trying to hide? Like,
Why are you
just,
being so defensive?
yeah, like exactly. And kids don't generally wouldn't generally know how to do that on their own, so someone's telling them to be defensive about them and not to talk.
Yeah.
Like these,
Defiant. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to send you Jeffrey Marsh after this, Kane. You're going to know exactly who I'm talking about, and you're going to see why. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's everyone. I'm just saying when people do that in that community, and then they say that it doesn't happen, and then you hear that, you're like, okay, but what's
Okay.
this? So it does happen, maybe not all, but why can't we talk about this happening? Because it does. Just because it
Yeah.
doesn't happen over here doesn't mean it's not happening over here. We're not saying it happens over
Yeah.
there. We're saying, hey, this situation happened. But the more you block that out and you call people names, because we're like,
Yeah.
this is kind of gross. This is exploity. This is culty. This is groomy.
Yeah.
Zoomy.
Zoomy.
I know I don't want to use zoomy because I love it when the cats get zoomies because it's like they had a big poop
I
and they just
know.
like fucking go hard. And Jackson has like long hair and he just has no traction, so he just kind of like goes and he can't get anywhere and he's just trying so fast to run and he can't get any traction on on the hardwood, and it's really funny. So I don't ruin
Oh
that,
my
but
god.
I just think, guys, yeah, like be aware. I feel like if I was a couple, like maybe 5, 6 years younger when the internet came out, I think I might have been at danger there for sure. You know,
Oh fuck.
I don't know, because I'm just such a trusting person. I wouldn't think that somebody would do that. So I'd be like, sure, yeah, come hang out with us at the lake or something, and not even like
Yeah.
think that that might have been a predator. I wouldn't. I was so small town. There's no way I would have known that. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I just some kids are naive and young still, and they should be, and that's why I don't think they should be on these platforms, because I think it's super dangerous. But that's just my opinion. I would probably be the most hated mom and the crunchy mom and the loser mom, so I just homeschool them so they wouldn't know what the other kids even had. That would be just normal to them.
Yeah. No shit.
But I think that was good. Kid, you have anything to add? Any other tips and tricks from being a mama of a growing boy?
No. Like I am such a hard ass, but
I love it
he
though.
fucking loves me, like he loves me. He knows that he's loved, he knows that he's cared for.
And that's for his safety.
He knows that he is safe. I even in public, just he's 7 and he's quite tall, but I'm still like, if you're not within arm's reach of me when we're out, like I can't do anything to help you.
Yeah.
So I just stay close enough to me
Yeah.
that if anything, like we're walking down the street and a car just comes out of nowhere, I can just grab you and yank you this way. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know, being a parent's so crazy because it makes you fucking anxious as shit.
No
Like,
doubt.
but when you like raise these kids, like he's turning into a good kid. He's going to be a great person. It's worth it
Mm-hmm.
to be aware of what your children are doing, to be vigilant, to just be proactive
And watch for
is the
other
best.
kids too, right? Like, just having them being aware
I
of their
am a watcher of
surroundings.
all children.
Right? But
I
even
see
teaching
children.
them too, right? Like just to being
Yeah.
aware. And again, it's not being the fear into them being like, everyone's gonna, it's been like, hey, when you're,
Not everybody's bad, but
not
just not
everyone
everybody's
bad,
good.
but there could be, and it's just good to have a watch out. Like you said, staying close to me, make sure you're not wandering off places, like tell me where you
I
are,
need to be
check
able to see
in.
you.
I need to be able to see you. Like, and parents like get to know, before I think when we were younger it was a lot easier just to go to our friend's house and our parents didn't need to know really who the other parents were. I think that there was a lot more
Yeah.
safety 20 years ago when we were, 20, 30 years ago when we were younger
Yeah.
growing up. And I just unfortunately think I don't think it's purposely maybe dangerous. I think people just aren't paying attention, and there's a lot more distractions now more than ever. And so I think, it's a good idea to get to know who your kids' friends' parents are too, right? Like who are you sending them over to? Are they
Yeah.
paying attention? Because, I remember I used to go to my friends' houses that had better rules than I did, and we are no rules, I would say. And so yeah, we would do things that I wasn't allowed to do at home. So, maybe you have strict rules and at YouTube at home, but Johnny B. Seed over here can watch whatever the fuck he wants and somehow has now got on some weird ass horse porn, which has happened. That's not uncommon for kids to, because you
Yeah.
look up like horse porn, what is that? And all of a sudden there it is. It's like, do we need 7-year-olds looking at that? I don't
No.
personally think so, but I digress. What do I know? I just have cats. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
just be aware of your kids are around, and you don't have to be crazy about it, but knowledge is power. So if you start to see weird things, since he started going to blah blahs, and maybe, hey, do you let your kids on YouTube? Yeah, totally. Okay. Did they go to that like snuggy wuggy now and they feel like a bear is going to kill them with a hug? Like,
The
like that reminded me of like that Elmo fucking, remember that
yeah.
Elmo
Oh,
doll? That thing freaked
yeah.
me out too. I'm just like, I think Chucky ruined it for dolls for me. I think anytime I see
Oh,
a doll like
100%.
kind of move, I'm like, it's gonna kill me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm done.
Unrealistic fear that was just there, but there is that. That's a good way to end the show. But yeah, guys, just
That is.
get involved with your kids' life, teenagers too, and like, I don't know. I'd say even into your 20s, like I think it's great, like, because women are dating online too. Like, this isn't just for kids, guys. Like, that's a whole other conversation. We're gonna keep talking more because this is like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
trafficking too, right? Like, people get groomed into thinking that they're gonna have this amazing life, and then they get,
Like,
like, we'll
yeah,
talk about it more in the trafficking, but it's really sad. It's not. I think our biggest concern is kids because they're the most naive. They're the ones,
vulnerable.
most vulnerable. They're the ones that are being affected the most, and they're not listening to these podcasts, right? Adults are listening to these kind of shows and kind of understanding, you know when we first had Tinder, I'm sure a lot of people got catfished more, and now that people know what
Yeah.
catfishing is, it's not as like as common because at least people are a
Common.
little bit more, yeah, like vigilant about it. But if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So just be aware
Yeah.
of that. Get involved. I don't know. Follow us on all the social medias, all the places. Turn on the
Hit us on all
notifications.
our spots.
Yeah, message us if you have a topic you want. We're almost ending season 5. Holy shit, it's weird. It is so weird. We're like halfway through at this point, the second to last month of, yeah, we've got about 6 weeks of recording left, which feels really weird and exciting.
Yes, we do.
And I need to not, these
It's
lights
gonna
already
go
make
by.
me red, and then I'm just on top of it a lobster. So this isn't, I need to get brown like Kayla now, not just like this red lobster. But anyways, guys,
You will.
yeah, I will, I'll get there. But until next time, guys,
You get there.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for stopping by the show today. We truly hope that you had a good time. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to our channels, like our episodes, and turn on those notification bells. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, and Google Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Until next time, guys.